There you are, my boy!
I told him again and again that I didn't know when you would be back. Each and every one of your potential clients left with a simple how do and a wave of thanks. But oh, not this one. He insisted on waiting until you returned.
Now, miss, there's no need for the fuss. Your tea was worth the wait, in my opinion.
God, and now he thinks he can butter me up. Hudson promptly thumped down the stairs, all the while swinging her arms about and expulsing frustrations like a kettle at boiling point.
I apologize for keeping you, Inspector. May I ask why you're here? I didn't think Holmes needed watching over now.
He doesn't, but we've some business to discuss, as it were. We weren't at our best with you during this case. Belligerent, even, whilst distrusting you. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us for doubting your innocence.
Inspector Lestrade, unsure of what reaction his apology would give, only held out his hand in hopes that Holmes would shake it.
We should have been quick to realize you and your father would never do any such things, but look at us.
Please. You needn't speak another word, Inspector. Just as we detectives prioritize solving cases over all else, Scotland Yard prioritizes the safety of London's people. With that in mind, it comes as no surprise that you would hold anyone who has the slightest potential to harm them accountable.
Thank you.
And remember, you permitted me to take part in the Lupin investigation despite my position as a suspect. I consider that paying your debt in full. Shall we call it even?
You're your father's son, all right. On behalf of Scotland Yard as a whole, you have our most sincere gratitude for your efforts to solve this case. We will never forget the bravery and intellect. It's been a true pleasure.
As Holmes reciprocated the open hand before him with a firm grasp, there was a feeling that this appreciation was not simply a formality, but rather a personal gesture on the inspector's part as well.
I'm a fool not to have said it sooner. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, you and your father are indispensable to our work in this city.
Is it appropriate for an employee of the Yard to say that?
I fancy being an honest man from time to time. Oh yes, I was sure to pass along word of your accomplishments to the Academy. You two will work to the end of your days if we have anything to say about it. Don't be shy when we come knocking on your door.
Ah? I mused to myself. Is Emily here, or are we getting an insight into who the other narrator is? Emily, you here? Ah, I mused to myself, the tiniest crack of a smile coming to light. An ulterior motive. What a brilliant way to ruin such a sweet sentiment.
In fact, consider me banging on your door right now. I have a few things I should like your opinion on, you see.
In no time at all, Inspector Lestrade conjured an assortment of documents from his coat, opening files and pointing to this and that emphatically in hopes of soliciting Holmes's thoughts on the particulars. Ah, I mused to myself a second time. He was planning this all along.
Suppose he can't bring himself to ask Mr. Holmes for help. The arrest might still be a sore spot for him.
Okay, we are here. Because for a moment, I'm like, it would make sense for a Watson to be the second narrator, since Watson is the one that's always journaling the adventures. But alas, we are still here, so I'm none the wiser. I doubt Holmes expected to be quite this busy so soon after his name was cleared. Hudson made mention of several other potential clients who visited, and though he wasn't available, they seemed enticed enough by his services to come another day. So many people need him. That's a lovely thing. Of course it is. What is the matter with me? I ought to be happy for him, but all I feel is lonely.
Excuse me, Emily?
What is it?
I, don't know if it's my place to ask, but, have you spoken with Holmes since the case was closed?
Why him? Well, a bit. We spoke when he was in hospital, and again in the cemetery just earlier today.
Not like that. A different talk. I wanted to know if you had the chance to get your differences sorted, or whatever it may be. It could be all in my head, but I've had this impression that you've been keeping him at arm's length lately.
I was startled. It wasn't in his head at all. Watson noticed a deliberate act on my part. But I made that promise to Pendleton.
Then I have two conditions for doing so. 1. I am to remain by your side at all hours until this case has seen its end. 2. Upon its end, you must never meet with Holmes alone under any circumstances. Will you honor these two conditions?
He forgave so much that I can't possibly break my word to him. It was true that I wished to never leave Holmes's bedside when he was in hospital. And when I saw him in the cemetery, standing alone and looking very solemn, I fantasized, running to him and alleviating that solemnness. But a promise was a promise. It was my responsibility to uphold. You weren't alone in the cemetery, though Pendleton was there. Besides, with his name having been cleared, Holmes's trust with the people is stronger than it ever was. What reason do I have to stay with him?
Emily? What is it? You're awfully quiet.
Oh, pardon me.
No, it's all right. I'm the one who was meddling, so I should be saying that.
He gave me a smile in hopes I would grant one in return, but I could see the worry in his eyes. I couldn't find the expression to respond.
My lady, we ought to depart soon.
Oh my, I didn't know it was so late already. His conversation with the inspector seems to have barely gotten to the heart of it. And I've no business worth bringing up either. I'm more an unwelcome guest if I stay any longer. There, a mountain of excuses, each one plenty fit for leaving. And so Pendleton and I set off for the mansion. Caw caw, goes the raven.
You are bloody spectacular, I must say. If I didn't just see you narrow down the culprit from a simple overview, I'd have thought it was all my eye and elbow. You're as dependable as your father, you know.
That's the 7th time you've said that today, Inspector.
Is it? My fault. Regardless, I think I've been here long enough. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Finally! About time he left. Hudson entered the room carrying a tea set.
Oh, more tea? Thanks, Hudson.
Nonsense! You two have been hard at work on that case, so I'm certain you must be tired. I'd hoped to make some for Emily, too, but she left before I could. Holmes sat in silence, sipping away in a refined yet wholly obnoxious manner. It was a sort of stuffy, padded silence for those who were less adept at hiding their feelings.
If you didn't want her to leave, why didn't you simply ask her to stay? What rubbish is this? Inspector Lestrade believed you were concentrating on his cases the entire time, but you can't fool me. You've been in a foul mood since she left. It's all over your face. This is how my face always looks.
Really? Even I can tell you're out of sorts. I'm rather used to your complaints as you nitpick my tea, but I haven't heard a peep from you. Oh, is it perhaps so perfect that you can't find a single thing wrong with it?
Fear not, Miss Hudson. Your tea still has plenty of room for improvement.
Your personality has plenty of room for improvement.
If only she were wrong.
Watson? Watson grew so serious that Hudson was caught off guard. The air shifted from mildly stuffy to uncomfortably dense. Following something between a scoff and a sigh, he continued to pester Holmes.
I think you need to give her a bit more of what she wants. Don't you? She'll do anything for you. If it's for you, no barrier is too tall. You know this, surely. So why won't you take her hand? I'm not certain that's any business of yours. It's very much my business. I've been watching the two of you since the day we met her. You both worry to God over one another. She does what she believes is best for you, and you for her. And for what? For you to push each other away? Hurt each other? I'm sick of it! Emily is strong and cheerful as can be. She won't give up no matter the obstacle. All stunning qualities. I know. But were you to ask me, the more reluctant someone is to show their weaknesses, the more likely it is they're putting on a brave face before others only to cry when alone. The last thing they want is to be a burden for the ones they love the most. When it's the worst of times for them, the only thing they'll do is smile, laugh, bury it. I want to make something very clear, Holmes. I don't care how smart you are or how fine a detective you've become. If you think nothing of making a girl suffer, I will look down on you. There's more to being a man than plain perfect. I suppose those are your father's words. No, I thought of them off the top of my head. And speaking of, I'll bash your head in if you make her cry. Don't test me! Good God, why must everything end in fisticuffs with you? What was that? Nothing, my dear friend.
I'll punch your lights out if you make her cry. Go get him, Watson. The next morning, Pendleton was routinely pouring me some tea when he asked a very unexpected question.
Are you certain you were content to leave so abruptly yesterday, my lady?
Of course. It wouldn't do to break curfew.
Your curfew was not to what I was referring. If I may be specific, should you not have returned Holmes's gloves?
You noticed?
I did, yes. I don't recall raising you as one who would forget when she's borrowed something of another's,
Well, no. Of course I didn't forget. But I promised you I would stay away from him, and I don't wish to break that.
It's quite admirable for you to regard our promise with such importance. That being said, my lady, you ought to return that which belongs to him.
What? That didn't make any sense. Should I? But what about our promise?
I have no doubts you will continue to honor that in the future. That comes from the part of you who also can lie to herself, and that concerns me for the present. So, take these.
Pendleton presented me with Holmes's gloves, now perfectly clean and pressed.
I don't believe he would have preferred his belongings being returned to him creased and dirty, so I took the opportunity to wash them for you.
Thank you. So much, really. You'll always be 10 steps ahead of me, won't you? In what felt like the first time in ages, my heart was lighter. I accepted the gloves with a new wind, thanking Pendleton silently, and yet I'm sure he still heard it. I'll return these to him by the end of the day, Pendleton. And I'm terribly sorry for,
I haven't the faintest idea what you are apologizing to me for.
I felt it was only right to do so. That's all. It's now or never. When I give these back, I'm going to tell him how I truly feel about him. Didn't you already? Or were you under duress and that's not a true confession? Before I left, I found myself clenching his gloves once more. Good day, Holmes. Forgive me for taking so long to return these to you. It was painful to hand them back. It was our last connection, and now it was gone.
Well, I had given them to you. With your memory, I'd expected you to forget all about them.
I would do no such thing! This isn't right. Why? Why does he manage to rile me like this with every word? I have something I must tell you, Holmes.
Yes? Come on. Out with it.
He was curt, yes, but he still waited patiently for me to find the words. This isn't the time to turn tail and flee. I want you to know the truth, Holmes. I never want to lie to you again. I took a deep breath. My heartbeat pumped at a rate that deafened my ears. I could scarcely hear a thing. My throat pinched with a tightness that stung. I could not breathe, but I could finally speak. Holmes, I have something I should like to tell you after school.
Why can't you say it now?
It's not appropriate for the classroom.
But... Sir, no! It'll only be a minute. Even half a minute will do.
Wingman Watson trying to run interference, and Mr. Mackenzie's like, "Hello, everyone. It is I, Mr. Mackenzie, your favorite teacher." Oh my goodness.
Good morning, Mr. Holmes. Miss Whiteley.
The classroom door flew open with dramatic force.
Whatever were you two discussing? Well, it doesn't matter now. I must ask that you take your seats. The rest of you in the hall too.
Everyone was giving them a moment. Mr. Mackenzie like, "It's time for school, y'all." One by one, our fellow schoolmates filed into the room. Contrary to Mr. Mackenzie's startling energy, each student appeared more woeful than the last. Good morning, Watson.
Gah! I'm sorry, Emily. If only I could have kept him a bit longer.
Oh no. Were they watching us from there? How mortifying. Pleasant morning to you, Emily. Oh, Marple! And to you as well. Here, I'd like you to have these biscuits. My grandmother made them. Even our cat Isabella absolutely loves them. Marple then promptly displayed her gift, complete with an adorable pink paper to coddle them. How sweet! But do you really feed your cat biscuits? We do. In our household, our cats enjoy tea time with us. The taste is rather simple, but personally I find they're a delight. This is really lovely of you, Marple. I can't wait to try them. I carefully secured them into my pocket for later. I feel like that's important for some reason. Mr. Mackenzie gave one polite final indicator that social affairs were to cease for the time being, and so I took my seat as instructed. The entire time, my hand was pressed to my chest as if to calm my racing heart. Dash it! Why didn't I say it instead of putting it off? I'm a fool. A coward.
Holmes? What is it? Never mind. Then stop looking at me with such pity.
Oh, you guys are both being so dumb. You already said you loved each other. What's wrong with you two? I could see the two were having a conversation about something or other, but I didn't have much courage to continue admiring Holmes even from a distance. Good morning, Mr. Mackenzie.
Good morning, class. Now before we begin the day, I have something I would like to announce.
True to his character, he remained ever brimming with gaiety over the melancholy permeating the room.
Some of you may already be aware, but it bears mentioning nonetheless. With the help of his friends, our very own Herlock Holmes successfully solved the crime he was implicated in, finding the true culprit and clearing his name at one fell swoop. As a reward for his, everyone's certainly, brave efforts, our class has the honor of receiving a special recommendation from Scotland Yard.
What a fantastic cause for celebration. The room erupted into applause and cheers from the news.
Words cannot express how proud I am to be a part of an academy that produces exceptional students like yourselves, and to be your teacher no less.
The melancholy from before his announcement remained in a small form, but for the moment it at least had the decency to cast itself to the shadows of the room in favor of a brighter, cleaner air. I too could breathe lighter.
In addition, I have something I need to give Holmes. Return, rather. Inspector Lestrade of the Yard placed your ring in my care yesterday. It's time you wear it again.
Poor Holmes hasn't had that since the Lupin investigation. His finger now appeared regrettably accustomed to being barren since he left the ring in the inspector's care. Knowing Holmes as I did, he would have been content with this, for what he lost as proof of his title, he gained an inspiration to solve the unsolvable. I still don't think he gave his ring, though. Am I... This is probably the shipping part of my brain going into massive overdrive, but what if you took Emily's ring? I can go back to her right now, in front of the class. That would be pretty dope. Just a little secret shipper wish of mine. Oh, let's see. And now you could have both. Seeing the moment of its return made me happier than I thought it ever would.
Come here, Holmes. Yes, sir.
Holmes left his seat and moved to the front of the classroom. My heart beat faster than normal once again, but I didn't want to waste a second missing his back as he walked forwards. I'd been protected so many times by that back of his. I knew so well how reliable it was, how warm it was. Oh, that's enough. I need to stop. It's making my chest hurt again.
Well then, Holmes. Allow me to present you with... Oh?
As Mr. Mackenzie, standing regal and proud, placed a hand in his jacket's inner pocket, he froze. Oh my gosh, am I right?
What on earth? How? Why, this doesn't make any sense.
Regality was lost to a fluster of movement as he searched one pocket after another for his lost little something. Oh, he's lost the ring. He couldn't have. No! I must be making a mistake.
Did he lose the ring?
That's rather rude to say aloud, Kobayashi. He knows very well how important that ring is. He wouldn't be so careless with it.
Oh, absolutely. I could never. Well, now we're in a pickle. And he's gone back to his doom and gloom self, too.
Is that a cat? There was no mistaking it. I and the rest of the class could hear its mewing and whining from outside the window, and we all turned for a look.
Well, Jacqueline, did you follow me to school again?
Jacqueline was this black cat, apparently, sporting a leather collar of no particular fashion, but plenty functional. And for now, it was taking a leisure stroll across a nearby hedge.
Is she yours, sir? Yes. Jacqueline's taken to wandering about the academy of late. And making a mess of my belongings. Oh, what a handful cats are.
Should you be leaving your pet alone to wander the grounds, then?
If it's able to make it to the academy unaccompanied, then it'll wander home when it feels like it. I don't see the harm in leaving it.
Look! Something's in her mouth!
Ah. That's where it is. Drat. Thought my foolproof theory was... my foolproof theory. I can't talk today. I thought my theory was foolproof. Bleh.
Oh! Holmes, isn't that your ring? Huh?
He's gone! How did he leave Mr. Mackenzie's side so quickly? Neither Holmes nor Jacqueline were anywhere to be seen. Curiouser and curiouser, Holmes doesn't like animals.
Dear me. Now what's become of Holmes?
Upon noticing the ring, his face changed into a rather funny color, then swoosh, off he went.
Of course it would. That ring proves he's a detective. We have to find it. Mr. Mackenzie! I jumped out of my seat with a burst of energy. I wish to ask you a favor.
What a coincidence, Miss Whiteley. I have something I should like to ask you. Well, all of you as it happens to do for me.
Yes? What is it?
It's a terrible thing, really. Bringing pets into the academy grounds is expressly forbidden. So...
Thus, we as a class set about trying to find Jacqueline before any other teachers caught wind of her. How will they know it's his cat? It could just be any cat. It all comes back to cats again. We soon discovered we were in over our heads. Cats are cunning creatures, and she was proving to be no exception. We split into groups to cover more ground, only to find no trace of her. I let out a disappointed sigh. Huh. Just where could she have gone? It reminded me of when I had to find Her Majesty's cat. Yep. I had relied on cat powder from the mansion to find her, but I don't know if I could do that again. Asking Pendleton to bring some to the academy would be a little much.
Don't even think about it.
Holmes? A squeak and a hop came in turn to being addressed from behind. Why must Holmes be here? Just what do you mean?
I can read your mind, you know. You were contemplating whether to use cat powder again, weren't you? Perhaps you might want to consider that the solution would have every cat in London descending upon the academy. This isn't Hyde Park.
Drat. You make a decent point.
Lovely. Your thought process hasn't changed at all, has it?
It most certainly has. The cheek of him. My meekness was lost to annoyance. He always had a magical way of doing that to me. Mr. Mackenzie said Jacqueline likes high places, didn't he?
How about that? I was thinking the same thing. Ah, but not because of Mr. Mackenzie. Merely because it is common sense.
Ugh! Must you make me out to be an idiot at every turn? It was the same. All of it. The way he stood, the way he spoke, the way he sneered. All the same, and also aggravating that I could feel my ears burn with heat. Even the way my heart was near bursting from his voice was the same. After agreeing on where we should resume our search, we continued towards the academy's rooftop.